everyone, this is Bertina Amy here and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be making a mini little lucky leprechaun gnome pencil pal. And here I'm just using a single wooden spool and a single wooden dowel cap. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the spool and the dowel cap and just adhere them together. And I'm trying to make sure that the holes line up as best as I can. And in here I'm also just using a hot glue gun because it dries the fastest, and so that we can move forward to the rest of the pieces. And it can adhere pretty well as well. Next, I'm going to go ahead and take some scrapped felt fabric that I have on hand, and I'm just going to cut about an inch or so of the fabric, and I'm going to adhere it to the spool part of the body just because we don't really need that lip. I just really want a fuller looking body, and that part's going to be covered up anyways with a different fabric for this lucky gnome. It's going to be green, so the inside part, really the color does not matter because it's going to be completely covered up. During the process of making this, I didn't even make sure to try to figure out the exact length of the felt I needed, so I would just go with an inch and then make it longer than definitely longer than you're gonna need, and then eyeball it when you get closer. Just start gluing it, and then when you see that you're getting closer, then you can snip off the excess and then attach it completely. So I went to the dollar store and I was looking for stuff like fabric in green in the holiday area where they would normally keep the holiday stuff, and I was disappointed in seeing what was left. There was no fabric I could use whatsoever. So I decided to venture over to hair tie stuff, and I came across a green scrunchie. And so I chose to take that green scrunchie and make it the outfit for this gnome. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it completely apart to make the gnome's body and the hat. So here I'm going to just go ahead and cut a tube of the fabric in longer than an inch, and I start to completely take it off the scrunchie, and then I realize that this fabric, or this tube rather, is way wider than I need it to be for this gnome. And at this point I already started to hem up the inside of the tube, and that's totally fine because then I went ahead and just cut apart this scrunchie, because then I can actually wrap the fabric around instead of trying to get the tube over there and it being just way too bulky. So I went ahead and just cut out the hem part of the scrunchie, and then I hemmed up the additional sides, and then I attached it to the gnome. And here's a great time to go ahead and cut off any excess fabric that you don't need. Unfortunately, this fabric is also a big pain to try to hem even with hot glue, not even just with sewing. I think maybe the best way might be hand sewing, but it tends to curl every time you trim off any fabric of this type of fabric. So I just worked with it the best that I could, and I know it's not going to come out perfect, but honestly, like I said in my other videos, no art project will ever come out perfect anyways. Not even videos come out perfect. So, we just do what you can and try to be happy with it when you're done with it. So I keep working on it until I reach to the end, gluing the fabric, and then I decided to go ahead and hem up the very last edge of it and then attach it that way. And then for the bottom, I cut up little marks all throughout, around the circle, so I could just get a nice edge when I glue all the little pieces on. It's hard to explain, but I hope I'm making sense. I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part of the process a little bit. So right now on my table I have 3 items, and you're probably wondering what the ball beads are for, the wooden beads. I plan to take one of those and use that for the nose of the gnome. So then this next part, I decided to go ahead and create sort of the hat and the little pom-pom ball that kind of sticks out of the hat completely from scratch. And I decided I wanted to try to take a Chanel stem and cover it completely, because I had purchased the Chanel stem initially over the Christmas holidays, and I had so much left over from doing Christmas projects And I ended up just having so much extra that I wanted to use it for this project. And I had recently picked up this bright green Chanel yarn from the dollar store as well. And so I decided, let me see if I could just wrap this around the Chanel stem. And it was a really good, like, it worked out really well. So I go ahead and wrap the whole thing on screen. I originally tried it out off camera and it worked out so well that I go ahead and completely cover it with this bright green. And it actually makes it look more full than the initial Chanel stem from the dollar store or Dollar Tree. So once I get that completely wrapped up, I decide to bend the thing in half because I don't need that length. And I decide to take another bit of the green fabric from the scrunchie and cut up another tube to get more fabric and use that to create the hat. And I first hem up all four sides. I then take the extra Chanel yarn and I wrap some more around the tip or the bent area once I attach the fabric to create this hat. And I try to form like the hat in sort of a triangular way. It's really hard to explain. I'm trying to make it look triangular so that it doesn't look tubish. And so I just take the one edge and have it meet to the other edge, creating sort of a triangle, but also I have the Chanel stem in the way, and it's fine. I just go ahead and focus on the palm ball area, and I just wrap that bent area more with the yarn that I have until I get to a point where it's at least satisfying. Then just be sure to go ahead and attach the tail ends of the thread, or the yarn rather, to the ball itself with hot glue. Make sure to test the hat on to the gnome, and then go ahead and cut off the excess Chanel stems, or as I know them as, pipe cleaners. Once I test this hat on the gnome with the nose on there, I realized, oh my goodness, I forgot one of the most important things a gnome needs, and that's the beard. So I actually end up off camera taking off the nose. So actually, you really should attach the beard first, then the nose. And the reason is so that the beard kind of helps to hold the nose in place along with the glue. So you make sure you put the glue on the top part of the hole of the beads and the bottom part of the hole of the bead so that it's perfectly situated on top of the beard, but also over or under the hat. Also off camera, I did have to trim the beard that I had on hand. That beard is way too long-haired for this gnome, and the fuzzy look and the shorter hair is much, much better for this mini gnome. So don't be afraid to do that as well for yours if you make one. Also, I did go ahead and finish gluing on the hat to the nose and the head off camera because I kept putting my hands out of the camera's view. I do apologize for that, but basically you're just going to go ahead and glue the hat onto the head, making sure that the nose is totally covered so that the hole isn't viewable. So to make this gnome look more finished, I decided to use the extra Chanel yarn that I still had from the Dollar Tree and just use it as a trim along the hat. So I just attached that with the hot glue. So I wanted to add a clover to this gnome's hat as a design of the hat. And I knew I wanted to make it out of, I have a lot of this green, regular green and bright green, like craft foam. So I decided to take scrap paper and create a template for this. And I decided I wanted to use, start out with making the perfect heart shape. And then by doing that, like I would draw one half, then bend it and then cut it out and then open it up to a perfect heart and then trace that heart 3 or 4 times to create the clover look. The problem is that I wanted it to be so small that it was really hard to even get that to look good even when I cut it down on the actual craft foam itself. So I ended up just redrawing it directly onto the craft foam as well. So if you have a hole puncher that can cut out actual, the clovers, that would be even better. Or you could skip this part altogether. Or if you already have like cutouts of them anyways, then use that. Totally up to you. You don't have to, add the clover. I just wanted to do that to add the extra touch, to make it so that it looks like a leprechaun gnome. I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part of the process a little bit. And then I went ahead and just glued the little accessory clover to the hat. And then after that, I felt like the bottom of this gnome was very unfinished, so I decided to take the extra craft foam of the green and bright green variety, and I decided to just do an imprint of the wooden spool onto both of them and cut those out. And then I wish I could had a regular hole puncher, but I just took my Crocodile and the larger setting and the 3/16 I believe it is, and I just used that to poke a hole to where the hole of the spool would have been. But I knew that the hole wasn't going to be large enough, so I just decided to cut both of those circles in half and have them just on either side of the spool, so that way they kind of appear to be like green shoes. For this project, if you decide to recreate it, you can also take a drill to enlarge the hole within the spool just so that you could put it on top of any pen and make it a pen pal. I don't personally own one, so I go ahead and just use what I have and go with what I can. So even as a pencil pal, it's pretty cool. Just remember that no matter how many imperfections your creation ends up with, it's still going to be awesome. So that's all I have for this project. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.